What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today.
For those of you that have been following me, my content, and my opinions, you probably have an understanding of some of the players I favor and don't favor, and I have my reasons for it. I would like to make an episode about players that I have swayed from either side of the spectrum and my reasons for it. And here we are today. Either players that I used to love but now hate, and why, or vice versa. I used to hate, now love, and why. Some of these may surprise you because I don't always speak on it. Let's go ahead and start with Russell Westbrook. Y'all know I have been a huge defender of Russ on this channel, much in part to the unrelenting criticism and heat he took for all of the Los Angeles Lakers problems. I hated to see this man torn down in the manner he was getting slandered day in and day out and fall victim to the media and false LeBron James narratives, low-light reels, gag reels, people saying he sucks, belongs on the bench, or out of the NBA. There was a time where I couldn't stand Russell Westbrook, and I hated him. This goes back to his early years with OKC, and he used to give my Lakers fits. This goes all the way back to his early years with OKC, and he used to give my Lakers fits. And he initially started sending me into rage during the Lakers' 2010 postseason run, where he had me absolutely scared because we had no answer for his freakish athleticism across the board. Russ gave me nightmares. And if it wasn't for Pau Gasol and his go-ahead winning shot off a cleanup from Kobe Bryant's miss, that series could have very well went the other direction. And while I defend Russ and his Lakers run, I really started to support him after Kevin Durant left him for the Warriors, and I definitely felt for the guy. Because KD should have taken just as much responsibility for not going to the finals that year as Russell Westbrook. KD was no saint in that series where they were up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors. And before Russ averaged that triple-double, who was the guy telling everyone, I think Russ averaged a triple-double this season? And everybody called me crazy. Just saying. Karl Anthony Towns is our next guy. Cat. Karl Anthony Towns. All right. This really may not come as a surprise to some of y'all because I probably belittle or slander Cat more than anyone. He's probably my current most hated player by a long shot. I can't stand Cat. But when he first came into the league, I was pro Karl Anthony Towns and telling people to pay attention to this guy, to his game. Early on in his career, it seemed like he played a very mature game that I didn't really see often from a rookie. He seemed to be poised, well gathered, had a nice little post game, operated in the paint a bit more than he does now, at least it seems like it, had the length. And I was like, man, I like this guy's game. Then things started to change. Karl Anthony Towns started yapping at the gums too much about all kinds of stuff when he had accomplished nothing significant for himself or the team in his career. Then I started to realize how soft he was, had no backbone, was constantly being bullied, getting out-muscled, and began settling with long jumpers and fell in love with the three ball instead of taking his big butt in the paint. Then this guy, Karl Anthony Towns, starts bragging about how he's the best three-point shooting big man in the history of the league ever. Like, as if that was all he was seeking to accomplish in his career, and he was content with that. On top of that, calling out Russell Westbrook like he was trash when Russ has accomplished far more than Cat could even fathom thus far in his career. Cat thinks he's so much better than what he is and could never lead a team as well as Russell Westbrook could. Like Russ put a team on his back and carry them. Haven't seen Cat do that. Karl Anthony Towns is pudding pop. Damian Lillard. Dame is an interesting one. Because I believe Dame went from being a very underrated player to being a very overrated player, in my personal opinion. Back when Dame came in the NBA, I was pro Dame. I was constantly telling people about Dame. Don't sleep on Dame. Dame is a fantastic guard. You see what he's doing in Portland? Etc., etc., etc. I was inserting his name anywhere I could, when I could, in these point guard debates. Then he became very overrated, in my opinion, in the eyes of many fans and the media. And the guy was not getting any blame and constantly getting excuses based around loyalty and Dame time. Rolling with the organization unscathed by people for his shortcomings. Not just the team losing, but him being a big reason why the team was losing. Meanwhile, I see some of his other peers on other franchises getting the opposite treatment. So I was like, hold on. How is Dame getting so many passes for flaming out in the playoffs, but Russ, Harden, and Embiid are getting that playoff garbage stench attached to him, but he's not? So it wasn't something Dame did directly, but a product of his fan base and all the protection he was getting, whereas other players weren't. I just want people to be honest about these players, man. How the hell did Damian Lillard make the top 75 list? I can name several players that did not make the list that should have been there before Damian Lillard, starting with Pau Gasol and Dennis Johnson. Don't make me go on with that because I can. I have put out videos with foolproof detailing how consistently and constantly Damian Lillard did not show up in the playoffs, and there was not a murmur about it. Next up is Tracy McGrady, aka T-Mac. T-Mac might surprise some of you because I have done quite a bit of T-Mac content here and constantly trying to put respect on his name. But truth be told, I used to hate Tracy McGrady when he was playing. Why? Because he was the guy constantly being compared to Kobe Bryant, and rightfully so. I grew up in the Orlando Magic area, so that made it even worse. Constantly around T-Mac fanboys, wearing his jerseys everywhere, wearing his shoes everywhere, the black and blues and the silver and black T-Macs. Yes, I remember all of those. I was outgunned in arguments. It was like me versus all of Florida in the Kobe versus T-Mac debates. And I'm not going into detail about why I thought Kobe was better, but my spite and wanting him to underperform was solely based off putting away the competition and proving Kobe was better. That should speak volumes about how great Tracy McGrady was. And then after the injuries started to hit him and he began to deteriorate, his career began to deteriorate. You know, I look back on everything and was like, man, that was all competition. T-Mac was certainly that guy. And now I love him to death. And will continue to remind people why I think in his prime he was one of the best players in the league and one of the greatest scorers I have ever seen. Next up, Draymond Green. Yup, Dre Day. I used to love Draymond in his earlier years with the Warriors, the early Warrior days, when he wasn't getting mentioned much. I was a guy constantly saying Draymond is a guy I want on my team, and how he might be the most valuable player on that Warriors team for his defensive efforts on all 5 positions, his toughness, his energy, his playmaking skills. He was a solid Swiss Army knife. People interpreted what I was saying as I thought I could build a championship team with Draymond Green as my best player. But I wasn't saying that. I was saying that with his skill set, I want a guy like that to be a fundamental piece on my roster. I'm not saying he's an all-star or a superstar or can carry a franchise on his back as a number one option. Nope, he definitely can't do that. But with the right core around him and the right system, he can be fantastic. Now, Draymond Green has gotten absurd with his pointless, violent acts on the court that are indefensible. I think Draymond Green thinks way too highly of himself, thinks he is much better than what he is. He feels like his name should be inserted with players that are tiers above him, believes he deserves a statue outside of the arena one day, but he's not that guy. He's not a statue-level quality basketball player for a franchise. And now his podcasts are so damn annoying. Him on his podcast, his damn voice is annoying, and some of his takes are trash, in my opinion. Some could say the same for me, but whatever. He's done more harm to the Warriors than good in the last couple years, but they are not going to part ways with him. It doesn't look like it. Unfortunately, he will make the NBA Hall of Fame based on the success that the Warriors have had, but I would have no problem if Draymond Green did not make the NBA Hall of Fame. Sorry. I'd be okay with it. But he was a huge part of their success, so he'll make the Hall of Fame, all the championships. But as far as getting a statue, hell no. Next up is Allen Iverson. Similar to my rundown on T-Mac, I used to hate Allen Iverson because, for lack of a better word, the rivalry between him and Kobe Bryant. While I was surrounded by mostly T-Mac fans in Orlando area, I did come across my fair share of Allen Iverson people too that I would constantly get into debates with, saying Iverson was better than Kobe and if AI had Shaq, this, that, and the third. Then as time went on and I reflected back, I said, you know what? I love that little guy. I was never a hater of Iverson. Like, I knew he was great, but I couldn't stand him. And I definitely nitpicked his game without the proper context, looking back on it. I was definitely leaning towards bias and emotions at times, I can be honest with that, during my high school days. My hate for Iverson took off even more in the 2001 All-Star Game, the greatest All-Star Game ever, in my opinion, where AI led the East back from a huge deficit to stun everyone in the arena as the East won that game and beat the Western Conference. Iverson nabbed All-Star MVP. Fast forward, same year, 2001 playoffs. My Lakers had swept everyone in the Western Conference and were looking like we were going to be the first team in NBA history to sweep through the entire playoffs. In my eyes, we had already beat the Spurs, the Kings. So I was looking at Philly like mincemeat. It wasn't going to be a problem, even though they had a great record in the Eastern Conference. Then that little guy with all that heart, all the heart in the world, stepped onto that floor in Game 1 and showed everybody why he is who he is. Handed us our first loss, and what would be our only first loss. But Iverson was that monkey wrench in my Lakers season. Damn you, Allen Iverson. Next up, Dwight Howard. Yes, believe it or not, I used to like Dwight Howard. I don't know about love, but I was rocking with D12. Before he joined the NBA, I saw a segment on him for the first time on TV. I don't know if it was on NBA Inside stuff or what, but I looked at how huge this guy was, his body, his athleticism, and I said to myself, this guy is going to be promising. I remember at school, I hit up my best friend at the time, who was a huge LeBron guy. And I was like, hey, this guy, Dwight Howard, just heard about him. He's coming. And he's in better shape than LeBron. Bigger, stronger, maybe even more athletic. He kind of rolled his eyes and waved me off. Once Dwight started becoming great a few years later after his rookie season, I started running with that Orlando Magic basketball squad in NBA 2K. And nobody could beat me. Nobody could touch me with that late 2000s Orlando Magic roster. Boy, I had Dwight eaten. And I had shooters, quality players, Haydar Turkoglu, Jason Richardson, Ray Frost, Jameer Nielsen, Pietrus, the list goes on. Even when my Lakers ran into him in the 2009 playoffs, I didn't hate Dwight. It wasn't until Dwight landed in LA. Now let me say this before I proceed. I never ever liked his fake goofy mentality. I thought he wasn't naturally funny. I thought he was corny as hell, still is corny as hell. I thought he tried too hard to be funny and to be liked. And I didn't like his mentality. But his game was effective, though dull at times. So he lands in Lakerland, and my frustration with the guy was mounting high. Kobe Bryant was all about championships. So when Dwight Howard arrived, the first things he starts asking Kobe Bryant about were things like nightlife, and bars, and pubs, and women, and things to do in LA, events, etc., etc. He wasn't bringing up any basketball points. So you can imagine how Kobe Bryant felt and was thinking during that time. You can imagine how the flip switched immediately in Kobe's head, like, wow, this guy's not who I thought he was. He came here and this is what he's thinking about? The guy was complaining all season long. And I get it, he was coming off back surgery, but he wasn't happy with how he was being used, hurt or injured. Thought he was better than what he was, to be honest. And he was great when he was dialed in. Anyway, I can go on longer about Dwight Howard, but I don't really feel like it. I can't stand that guy. Anthony Davis. Yes, believe it or not, I used to rock with AD. I never thought he was the best player in the NBA like some people proclaimed him to be at some points in his career, including Charles Barkley. I remember Chuck said that. But there was a time where I did think AD was pretty phenomenal. But maybe I wasn't looking closely enough. Or as expectations grew for him, he began to shrivel underneath the pressure. And his body did as well. One of my cousins is a Pelicans fan. And I would constantly joke and give him crap about, wait a few years, we will take your prized possession, Anthony Davis. He'll come to Lakerland and we'll steal him like we steal everybody else. And we'll win with him once we get him. Well, thanks to LeBron James, he made all of that possible. I loved that Pelicans team with AD and Boogie Cousins. They were an absolute terror to deal with. I mean, it felt like nobody but those two were getting rebounds when they played together. And they complemented each other very well with their skill sets. They really were an unstoppable tandem together. Rondo was also on that squad with Drew Holiday, and they were causing nightmares for some teams defensively. I had that Pelicans team as a sleeper team that nobody really wanted to face. Unfortunately, DeMarcus Cousins would, if I recall correctly, tear his Achilles tendon. Or if not that, something else, but I think it was an Achilles tear. And he would miss the rest of the season, and he was never the same afterwards. I started noticing in his last year or two with the Pelicans, I'm talking about Anthony Davis, that this guy was more fragile than I thought, more weak-minded than I thought, and softer than I thought. Then he arrived to the Lakers, and I got a full course of Anthony bleeping Davis and how frustrating it is to have him on my team. A guy with all the potential in the world, with a true beta mentality, and he ain't got that alpha dog in him. Anthony Davis is more of a follower than he is a leader. Having Anthony Davis was like this. AD's playing 65% of the season, and in that 65%, maybe 45% of the time, he's actually showing up and playing to his potential. Biggest guy on the floor, and he wants to shoot long jumpers and dribble the ball, shoot threes, and be a guard instead of taking his big butt inside and dominating. Getting pushed off the block, always falling to the floor, going back to the locker room, coming back out. I'm ready to blow this Lakers team up, truly. I cannot stand Anthony Davis. The last person I'm going to talk about on this list is Kyrie Irving. Now, this may surprise some of you, but yes, there was a point in time where I did not like Kyrie Irving. I had no problem with him until maybe it was his last year in Cleveland, or if not his last year in Boston, something like that. I can't really remember, but my thing with Kyrie didn't really have anything to do with basketball at all. So Kobe was one of Kyrie's favorite players of all time, and Kobe Bryant was also a mentor for Kyrie. Kyrie consulted with Kobe often, and you can see some similarities in their games despite the large size differential. With that being said, when Kyrie would talk, I thought that he came off as a try-harder. I don't even know if that's a word, but someone that tries too hard. And that he was trying too hard to talk like Kobe, to sound like Kobe. And it just didn't work for me. See, for those of you that don't know, Kobe was a freaking brainiac, a nerd, a man that truthfully was a sponge and loved to absorb all kinds of information and building bridges and finding parallels to things that you probably would never find any correlation. But Kobe made it make sense. It was incredible. At times, Kyrie was just trying so hard to sound smart, and he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Like, a lot of it wasn't even making any sense whatsoever. And I'm not even talking about the flat earther nonsense. I'm not even talking about that.
This is absolutely something that I want to do. It didn't have anything to do with not wanting to play with the best player on the planet. It didn't have anything to do with not wanting to be the second fiddle, not wanting to be sunned. And as you like to say, Max, being a second-class citizen, I have no idea what that is, or a second banana. I don't have any idea what that is.
You can easily pick someone apart that is trying to sound smart about something, as opposed to someone that is comfortable and actually know what the hell they're talking about. Kyrie Irving was just doing too much.
And it seems like he's like, no, I want you guys to know I'm the smartest guy in the room. I'm like, well, first of all, you're not. You only went to college for 6 months. A lot of guys are smarter than you are. Just answer stupid basketball questions. And if you want to say something about social justice, say it and mean it, because it's important and significant. But all that other stuff, like, yo, man, shut the hell up.
I'm not saying it's wrong to be influenced and pick up on things and embody mannerisms of other people. I think that's normal. But Kyrie was consciously trying too hard, and it wasn't natural. And people on TV kept saying how intelligent Kyrie was. Like, have you heard the guy speak? Man, every time I hear him talk, it reminds me of Kobe. And I'm like, Kobe who? Because he don't sound anything like Kobe Bryant. Kobe made actual sense. Kobe is talking intellectually about various things because he put the work in and knows what he's talking about, and has always had a wide vocabulary and a great vernacular. Now, for the record, since the years have passed and Kyrie has found a happy place for himself, a happy medium, and now when he talks, he does not sound like Kobe or someone trying to be Kobe-like. It sounds unique now. It sounds like Kyrie Irving. He is now truly himself and comfortable and natural with it.
And obviously in the court, it's amazing to play with a guy like him. Like I said, just go out there, enjoy. And the leader he's been for us, not just for me, but for us, he's been amazing. Always positive energy.
Yeah, I just think this guy next to me has pushed me to continue to work on my game and continue to develop as a young leader. And I think the big word that we both can agree on is just maturity. Coming into Dallas, I was dealing with a lot mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and they embraced me with open arms. You know, I don't have a perfect journey, so coming into this environment, I was unsure of how we were going to work out on the court, but off the court, I knew eventually that I would get him to open up. This guy's a big teddy bear at times off the court, big competitor. Okay, I'll say a teddy bear that likes to compete. You know, he's still ducking me in dominoes, but, you know, I think at times, you know, I just have to sit back and marvel at his talent.
You're gonna make me cry, man. Don't do that. Guys, man, all your sacrifices, all the things that you guys are doing, when no one's watching, it's truly appreciated, and all the words of affirmation that we're giving each other go a long way, man. So keep the positivity going. The job's not finished, but we can definitely celebrate this one. This was hard.
And I don't see people making those comparisons anymore but rather he has carved out his own unique space and public identity. And I'm happy for him. I truly am. Now, initially started finding a little bit here and there that I started liking about Kyrie Irving. Really, when I really raised my eyebrow at Kyrie is when I started to applaud him for the decision he made to force his way away from LeBron James and out of Cleveland. And normally I chastise players for constantly forcing their way out of franchises while they have a contract. But you know what? Sometimes I think it's warranted and justified. He did not like how he was being treated, and he was unhappy. Kyrie was one of the first guys that did not stay hushed and publicly spoke out about his discomfort and his unhappiness about the BS that revolves around playing with LeBron James. I think Kyrie started to realize that he was never going to get credit and the appreciation that he deserved for playing with LeBron James and their success. Reports were LeBron tried to get Kyrie traded for CP3 after their 2016 Finals victory, despite Kyrie Irving saving his ass with that you-know-what shot on you-know-who. He started to see through that LeBron James smoke screen where he likes to tell people about sacrifice and how he was going to give the keys to Kyrie Irving at some point. Yeah, right. He still ain't gave up them keys. He's damn near 40 years old. Now, since then, Kyrie has reflected on that situation. He's called LeBron James up on the phone and apologized to LeBron for how he handled that. But I would not have done that if I was him. His feelings were justified in my opinion. And do you think LeBron James goes around apologizing and calling everyone and apologizing for all the people he got traded? Man, I might have to make a separate video on this topic. This is a good one. I might have to do that. Anyway, I also didn't like all the scrutiny and criticism Kyrie was taking in Brooklyn. Do I think Kyrie Irving was as good as he thought he was? No, I did not think Kyrie was as good as he thought he was. I never thought Kyrie can be your best player on a championship caliber team, though he thought that highly of himself. But he wasn't arrogant about it, if I'm going to be honest. So, good confidence. I'll give him that. And I get it. Some people might say that Boston Celtics team might have won. That year, he got injured and didn't play in the playoffs, and they took the Cavaliers 7 games, if I'm not mistaken. But unlikely. The Warriors had Kevin Durant. But the heat this man took for not wanting to get vaccinated, and the whole unfortunate New York mandate for playing home games or not being able to play home games, and the heat he took for posting a link to a book on Amazon with some unique point of views, like everyone else has unique point of views, was crazy to me. Man, they was treating this man Kyrie like he was a damn criminal. Like he kidnapped some children. He was getting treated bad by the NBA. By ownership, his own ownership. These ridiculous people on social media that are ready to cancel somebody at any second for having a different of opinion or way of life or whatever because they don't agree with you. It looked like this guy's career might be in jeopardy for a bit. And some people were saying good riddance, he won't be missed. I appreciated Kyrie Irving's fortitude for standing on his beliefs despite what may seem like the whole world is against you and an unpopular opinion to the social scape. I applaud him for that. Despite whether I think he was justified or not, that is an admirable quality in a warrior and one that truly stands on his faith and beliefs. And I applaud him for that. I really do. So shout out to Kyrie Irving. Anyway, folks, those are all the players I got for now. If I think of any more, I might do a part 2 or something like that. But those are my list of players that I either hated and then started loving or loved and then started hating. This was a fun one. I appreciate you guys for stepping in. If you have anybody that you hated and then loved or vice versa, let me know in the comment section. Or if you disagree with any of my points, let me know. And I catch you on the next one. We out, baby.